Today, I have with me Antoine Vaillant. He just secured his position again at the Mr. Olympia Championships. We're going to get into everything, what he's been through, the hardships, the comeback. And so how you making out?
Well, today I'm good, like for real, like the last week, I won the Chicago Pro. Then my birthday was like Wednesday. So I had like a overwhelming week of like congrats and happy birthdays. And it was a bit overwhelming, but I had a really good week. So I had some good food in me and stuff. So I'm actually looking forward to today, just getting back on the plan and starting to work for the Olympia and getting back into my routine and stuff. Yeah.
Now you're competing at the highest level. And I'm curious, how long does the high stay with you after a big win? Like you just won a show to go to the Olympia. Is that like a day, 2 days, a week? Does it last all year? Like how long is this exciting? Like after that major accomplishment?
It's funny because when I won, I was like really happy, but it's like you forget about it, then you remember you won until sometimes I have to tell myself, because we're all always hard on ourselves, right? As bodybuilders and stuff like that. So sometimes I have to just slow down and look what I achieved and actually appreciate it, because I get caught in things and it's just like, what's the next thing to do and stuff. And so I actually this time tried to just like really enjoy the win and to just appreciate what I've done. And also like, I mean, I know that this is not going to last forever. Also, so I got to be really in the moment, because I think, like, as you know, like, because now you're retired, after everything is said and done, it's like goes by quick. So I don't want to be like, oh, I should have enjoyed more. So I'm trying to apply that right now and to just like appreciate, the efforts I've done and the way I look, and because I'm 35 now, I'm not young anymore. But this is prime time, so I gotta really be in the moment and enjoy it. So, but I'm really happy to go to the Olympia again. So that's really cool.
And I have to know, is this win, was it more special than the first time you qualified? Because you went through a lot, the calcium score test that, in my opinion, I thought you were done. I thought you were retired. I did not think you're even prepping. I seen contest report, or not even contest report, like your weight reports, like, hey, how do I look? And all of a sudden you're in a show. And did not expect it. And then you come second in your first show, and then you win the next one. Like, how crazy did that feel? The bicep tear, like there's so many things you had to come back from.
Yeah, there was. So the last year there was the bicep tear. At the same time, relapse, because I'm an addict in recovery. So I had a relapse, a bicep tear, and then I had the heart thing. So the only reason why I didn't announce I was doing a show is because if I had to pull out. Because because of course I'm always going to choose health first, and with my doctor and my coach Dora Hamilton and my health expert Dr. Dwayne Jackson, we said like, okay, we can give this a shot, but only if things improve, and if there's certain markers that it would go under, you have to pull out, unless and so I would have to pull out by my own choice, because like the bodybuilding is great, but like, do I want to live like another 20 or 40, or what I mean? Like, we don't know. So I play on the safe side, but everything kept improving. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep doing the prep without telling anybody. I say I would get in shape for content. I was downsizing, but there were just like funny words I used to just like, whatever, for fun. And then we did blood work every 4 weeks, and near the show every 2 weeks, and I just signed up for the Vancouver Pro, didn't tell anyone, and my name was on the list. That's how like people knew my name was on the list. But some people like look at my updates, like, it looks like he's prepping, right? So that's why I didn't announce it, because if I had to pull out, I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm doing it, and then I'm pulling out, right? So I was just like, I'm just going to do it, not tell anyone, and then if everything goes well, I followed through, do the show, and everything went well, and I followed through and did the show.
So I got to know, because your calcium score, it was at the 99th percentile. Like out of 100 people, you're at one of the worst that could be. And so what did you change? What did you do differently that allowed you to compete, to get better from this? Because I'm sure there's a lot of bodybuilders in the same situation, looking after their health. Like, what physically did you change? Mentally, cardio, diet, supplement? What did you do different for this show that allowed you to compete? Because I mean, I'm sure a lot of people thought there's no way this guy's going to compete again, but yet you come back and win.
Yeah, I think it's just the way I gave the news and the time that some bodybuilders passed away, which is the reason why I did accept testing. But one out of every 100 people is like still a lot of people. And I think people don't understand bodybuilders who are prepping and taking stuff, they always in the one out of 100 in the worst. Like if you look at somebody's liver, oh, you're in the 1 percentile of like fucked up liver for your age, right? So it's like for bodybuilders, like we don't have concussions, we don't have like head injuries from fighting. Our risks are more internal. So there's risk in every sports, every professional sports. Ours is like we don't really see it. We have to go out and see where the damage is. Like if you do a fight and you get your head bashed in and you break your arm, there's the damage to your body right there. For bodybuilding, it's more subtle. So people can choose to ignore it. That's a big mistake. That's a big mistake. And before being with Dorian, I actually like, I don't think I was young and I didn't really care. Of course, back then my mindset was different. So, but now since I'm with Dorian Hamilton, we did blood work since 2018. So we have like a whole track record of that. But then the blood work is like, well, there's other things that maybe I should check, you know, and I decided to do it because people were, you know, but some bodybuilders were passing away. And I think people always pass away, but now because of the internet, everything is so connected, we see more. So I was like, I'm going to do some testing. I found something with a calcium score and I decided to share it to just help people, because the same reason why I shared about my addiction and recovery, I could always keep that to myself, right? But if there's an opportunity to help someone and out there, even if it's just one person, I'm going to take it. And I think anybody in that position with the opportunity to do that should do that, in my opinion. So I did it. So I came out with, hey, look, I did a test, calcium score, this. You guys should check it out, because there was no way I could know. It's like blood pressure. You don't know you have high blood pressure unless you do a test. You don't really feel it, you know? So that's why I did it. So knowing that, at first I came out with the videos, and then people like just like were worried. You know, like you did a video on it, you gave your opinion. So, but then I was like, okay, what do I do now? Like, I just want to compete again. Because in my head, I thought that competing could last forever. Took it for granted. But now it's like, oh, maybe you can't anymore. I'm like, man, but I don't care. I just want to compete again. Even if I'm like smaller, even if I'm like not as good in my head, I just want to compete. Because the reason why I started training at 15 years old, I showed up to the gym. I told the guy, first time I stepped in the gym, I want to compete in bodybuilding before even training in the gym. So I really love it. You know, it's the self-discipline, the challenge, and all that stuff. I want to do it again. And then Dr. Dwayne Jackson, who pretty much saved my life down the line in my career, came in the picture. He's with HD Muscle now. And the whole prep, usually the group chat is just me and Dorian. It was me and Dorian and Dr. Dwayne Jackson, who was overseeing the whole prep. So that's the main factor that I changed. I have a doctor that I talk to every day that's like overseeing my whole prep, what I eat, what I take, all that stuff. So that's the main factor. And now looking back, I'm like, okay, if I would be coached by someone else in Dorian, any of these guys, they say, take this amount milligrams, 1 gram, whatever. I'm like, who are they? Why would I like these guys trusting these coaches without a doctor that understands everything? Is like, wow, I would never do that again. I would now all my preps, I will have Dr. Dwayne Jackson with Dorian, and that will oversee everything, because he has the he went to school for med school. He completed that. He competed. He knows the sport. He can relate to a lot of stuff with me in my past too. And so it's like, and not only because you can like, if you're smart, you can work your way through med school and become a doctor. Then you stop there. Oh, I've achieved it. No, but these doctors also have access all the time to all the new studies out there. And so some of them are just lazy. They're not proactive. Yeah, they were smart enough to do med school, but are they open-minded to do their own research? So Dr. Dwayne is just like always bang on, like just, he knows everything, you know, like he's always up to date. And if there's something he doesn't know, like by heart, he's not gonna check the studies and stuff and come back. So that's the main factor. I added a doctor to my prep.
Now, are there certain compounds, things that you could suggest that, does he say don't take Tren? Does he say take this because it's safer? Like, is there anything specific that you could tell us that you've done in the past that maybe you switched that's safer than, is there something like you can't do growth hormone or growth hormone is better? This one is more dangerous for your heart and this one is safer. Any kind of like suggestions you could give out there for that?
Yeah, for sure. Like everything that will increase blood pressure, right? Because blood pressure is not good for the arteries. So that's a given. So, but for me, what we did is I started my prep with nothing, right? 17 weeks out, nothing. Kind of like Kevin Leveroni, right? You can see with my content, I'm like a bit smaller, you know, no shoulders and stuff. And you could tell. And then we added one little thing. And then we see what the blood work does. And it kept improving, to be honest, until 5 weeks out. And then it would kind of like went down, and then it improved again near 3 weeks out. So pretty much the thing that will really affect your insides, because now I did my own study, is like if you take Tren will fuck you up, pretty much. Tren will just like, if you take a lot of it, that will hurt you quick. And orals will hurt the liver really quick. So we did none of that until like at the end for the last 4 weeks. And then just with that, my liver came out. I'm like, oh my God, just 4 weeks. And they did that. So imagine if like when people, because I know some guys do 10 weeks or whatever, and then they won't do blood work, or they do blood work 2 months later. Because I did blood work 3 days after my show, just to see what's up, right? Because people sometimes they're like out of sight, out of mind. But that's not you shouldn't think like that. You'd rather like know what's up, know the truth, and you'd be like, okay, this is what I'm doing to myself, right? But now that this prep, I've taken like the least amount of things I've pretty much ever taken since I'm like, I guess, 20 years old, right? And I was better. I was 257 the day of the show, right? So I was at the Olympia last year, I was 275 the day before. So a lot less weight, but the quality is way better. And I find that because I started my prep with nothing, instead of being over 200 pounds, I was like in the 270s. I kind of like just like did a Kevin Leveroni, just like, you know, like you change your body composition. I think that's way healthier for me, at least, because now of 300 pounds, the thing with me is I'm trying to stay away from it, because if I eat what I want, I get there by accident. I don't force feed myself there anymore. I'm just at the point where my frame and my body just goes there by itself. So I actually have to, even in the off season, like since December, I was doing an hour of cardio every day. The only time I pulled back is the last like 3-4 weeks of the prep. So in the off season, I do more cardio than prep.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think that people need to understand, like, because I see like these kids, they like do memes with Tren. They just like have T-shirts with Tren stuff on it. I'm like, guys, you know what? It's like you're promoting poison. You know, the thing you have to understand, like, yes, some of the compounds will hurt your body, but you have to understand that, okay, hurting your body for 4 weeks won't have an effect long term, right? It's like how long? It's like if you're having blood pressure for 3 weeks, or just stressed out for 3 weeks, it won't hurt you. But if you're having blood pressure for a whole year, 3 years, that will hurt you. You know, so that, and I think that's what maybe happened with me, because I have the high blood pressure. I didn't use my CPAP for years because I thought it was just snoring. And with all the parties I did back in the day, with the drugs I've used during my active addiction days, Dwayne said, you don't even want to know what your pressure was, probably like in the 200s. He said, I'm like, what? Guys, because you never measure when you party. I'm not gonna sit down, oh, I'm gonna stop the rave, check my blood pressure, right? So yeah, so there's a lot of things I didn't know back then that I know now. And I'm really grateful for Dorian to be like, hey, here's this doctor, he's gonna help you out. And Dwayne came in, he was a man with a plan, and he said, this is gonna be your best prep ever you'll see. I'm like, really? You know, like, because in my head, I'm like, we always had a bit of mentality that if you take less things, you'll be less good, right? And I never use a lot of stuff, because I hear like horror stories about some bodybuilders using grams and this and grams of that. I never had to do that because my genetics, I just gain muscle and lose weight how I want. It's like, I don't have like the big muscle bellies like some guys have, but I got genetics to like put on weight and get shredded if I want. So it was pretty easy for me to prep this time around, and it was the easiest prep I've done until like 4 weeks out. Then it became hard, the energy and stuff, and like getting up to just like, because when you're prepping, you pee more for some reason because there's so much water. I was like, I gotta get up again. Or if you forget your phone, you just sit down, you forget your phone on the counter, and you ask your girlfriend to go pick it up. The last 4 weeks were hard, but before that, it actually went really smoothly. And I think because my diet was balanced the whole way through. There was no like low carb, this and that. No, it was like balanced. I had like fats at every meal, carbs at every meal. I had 40 grams of fiber. I had fruits and vegetables the whole way through, and even yogurt at meal 6 a little bit. Even like like before the show or stuff like so. So I think like for me at least, the conception of like low carb or low fat carb rotation, this, that, I think for me, like I just realized that if you just burn more calories than you consume and you have a balanced diet, you can get shredded. I just did it. So I think there is always a healthier option that people could take, but they listen to coaches that maybe don't have their health first in mind. I'm just speaking out of my head right now, but for me now, I know that, man, I can bodybuild and still be healthy, or the healthiest I can be. Of course, the last 4 weeks are, this is where the professional part could come in place. And if it's your career and your job, there's a little bit of sacrifice to be made. But if it's short term and then you go back right on the plan, get healthy again, I think it's like people always paint a bad picture in bodybuilding, but it's because people think a certain way. We're all extremists, but I think if they would be guided better, it could change, because I just did it.
So it sounds like to me that what you need to do really is to try not to get too big in the off season, like not to balloon up, gain too much weight, because that puts more pressure on the heart. You're going to have higher blood pressure, and to avoid more water intensive steroids, like things that are going to really hold a lot of water, like D-bol and Anadrol. It's going to be worse on your blood pressure than something like Anavar. And that you want to use the least amount of drugs possible to prepare for the show and only add it in when you need it. And because you were able to prep better on less. And it only makes sense if you're thinking, if you do too many steroids, what happens is you feel like shit. And in Trent in particular, I had done 700 milligrams a week. I think I made it a week in and I was like, I can't do it anymore. I couldn't sleep. I felt sick all the time. And I'm like, how am I going to go to the gym and train hard if I can't sleep and I just feel like shit? Lower the dose and start feeling better again. And so less can actually be more. You don't need to abuse these drugs to the limit. And oftentimes, and I've coached, tons of guys, they want the highest possible dose. And I'm like, hey, this is what I did. And then they go and double it. They'll say, hey, I just took double whatever your biggest cycle ever was. I just doubled all that. And I'm like, what is wrong with these people? But I think it's an addictive sport. Like, you can't stop.
No, they're trying to find a quick fix. Because in my head, I'm like, man, this prep is going to be like doing bodybuilding on a hard mode, because I have less perks and items in my journey, like in a video game, But in reality, it's like, it was way better. And the thing is, I think people have to understand, there's a point of diminishing return. So there's like dosages and then side effects. At some point, it's like the effects, the good effects go like this, and then it crosses with the side effects. Side effects go like that for minor or maybe zero good effects. So people have to understand that. Yeah, you take your 3 grams of whatever, you're gonna be all water retained. You'll feel full, probably you'll be strong. But then your side effects, which are called side effects, but in reality, they're just effects. They're just like bad effects, because they affect your body as much as like the good effects. So why are they side effects? They're just effects. So, but those bad effects will like shoot up, and then you're gonna really risk damaging your body inside, right? So I think people need to rethink things, but people are scared. They're scared of being not good enough if they don't use a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of like misconceptions in bodybuilding. I think because people use more, you know, and did well. But these people who did well have awesome genetics. They could have probably used less and still fucking be good or better. You know, sometimes you see all these guys blown out on stage with the big waist and the big swollen muscles, and like, what if they use just less? They'd probably be harder, tighter, you know. So that's just my opinion, though, because I just lived it myself. You know, I just barely took anything, you know, for a pro bodybuilder that's going on stage, and I did it. You know, I wasn't the most blown out guy. But backstage, I was pumping up at Chicago. I was like, man, these guys are big and round. You know, like I felt like when I did the Arnold Amateur and all the big Russians were huge, and I was in the super heavies with my hoodie, I felt like a little asparagus. And I was like, man. But then I became sick. I got second place to the overall winner. And then I realized, man, size, you know, backstage, size doesn't mean anything. You know, because if you go on stage and you're hard as nails, you'll make everybody look like they're fucking 7 weeks out.
Yeah, exactly. Is there an exit strategy of any kind at this point? Like, I know for me, what I saw was like, I saw all this stuff going on with heart attacks and things, and it got me really nervous. And so what I did is I switched to classic physique, which immediately cut me off at a certain weight, 185. And so I had to lose muscle. So basically I just had to stop doing cycles. The last cycle I did was before my classic physique pro shows. And it was about a quarter of what it was back in the day. And I was maybe 7 or 8 pounds smaller, but on way less drugs. So obviously a lot healthier. Now, do you see yourself competing indefinitely at this point? Or do you see it as like, I got 5 good years, I'm going to retire at 40. Do you have a plan? Do you ever consider classic? I know it's, you know, a lighter weight and you'd have less muscle, but obviously you could go in on just on HRT and show up and look amazing. And if you like the challenge, it's still there, be in hard mode, as you were saying, but you could get on the stage and still battle it out in classic. I mean, does that interest you at all? Or would it be too hard mentally to see yourself on stage in a lower weight class division?
I mean, I don't associate the way I look with how I feel personally. Well, for me, it's like, I don't mind like losing muscle. Like, of course, like you don't want to take your shirt up as much when you're like not as in shape. But I mean, with all the rehabs I've done, I had to like, and the bicep tears I've done, I've looked like I went up and down with the way I look, but I never felt that my daily life was, I didn't feel less good about myself because I didn't look as good. So I wouldn't care going down that weight. I just wonder if it's possible because like the last time I was like 220, 218 on stage, I was 20 years old at the 2007 junior under 21 category in Canadian Nationals. This
I
was 218.
I was literally there competing, and I saw you in the grocery store, and I'm like, this is a freaking junior. He was twice my size. I've been training for 20 years. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy. You did a freaking backflip. I was doing backflips back then. You did a better backflip than me. I'm like, he's a kid, way more muscle than me, doing backflips. I'm like, why am I even doing this? It was crazy. I remember it well.
No, yeah, the funny thing is that 5 years later, we got a pro card at the same time, same place.
Yeah, on the same stage. Wild.
Yeah, it was funny. But yeah, so if it was possible, you know what? I would try it. That'd be good. Maybe I would try it like, you know, if we just speaking right now, like let's say if I would retire, you know, and then I would like do other things, lose some size, and then at like 45, which I would have less muscle, I could go down in 220 and then do a show in classic if I would feel like it then.
I'm convinced that you're over 5'11". Are you even over 6 foot?
I'm almost at 6, but I'm underneath. So if I measure
just
myself,
under 6. Okay, so your weight limit is 230 as a pro. Chris Bumstead is allowed to weigh 240, and it's 10 pounds per inch. Or is Chris Bumstead over 6'1"?
I think he's over 6.
He's definitely over 6 feet. Maybe he's over 6'1", and that could be the difference. This might be why it might be 222 or so for your weight limit. I'm not 100%.
No, my weight limit is like 222, I think.
So Regan Grimes had competed in classic from open. He made that and he went to the Olympia on it. And I can't remember what he weighed, but it was probably 220-ish. He's a bit under 6 foot.
I think he was like 15, 17 pounds over like a few days before though.
Right. Oh yeah, he was. And can always lose some water.
Oh yeah. So you know what? If I would do classic, I would want to be a week out at the cutoff and just cruise in. I don't want to do fucking insane shit at the end. It's like it doesn't
If
seem like
you're
it's fun.
if you're at the weight limit a week out, you're going to be way under. Like when I competed, I think I was 195 or so the day before, and I weighed in at 185. But I basically could hardly stand up. I was so dehydrated.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, but yeah, I'm always open-minded to challenges. But for now, I feel like just off season, you don't do anything, and then when you start prepping, you do like Kevin Levrone. I think because I have 20 years of training under my belt, I can do that and improve every time. Because I've noticed that. Okay, so off season, how can I improve myself with just a minimal amount of things, right? Like natural test levels, just training. You know, sometimes you can be the same weight. Like for example, I was the same weight now as I was 2 years ago at the. So before carving up for the Cali, I was like maybe 256 before New York Pro, and then I did carve up enough, and then I was like around the same weight as the Chicago Pro. But the Chicago Pro physique, my back is way better. So it's like I think sometimes you can improve development, but not size, and then you look bigger because of it. So you know, like people say, like old man muscle. So I think the longer you train, and you train hard, and then you adapt your training because of injuries, of course, you know, as you get older, but you can improve with being the same weight.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
The graininess, the hardness, the condition of the muscle can look
yeah,
totally different. Young guys
yeah,
usually don't get that.
yeah, and then my back now is like way more compartmentalized. So everything had this little section of the muscle. Before it was like stuff was like missing a little bit, but now it's like everything is there. And I think my legs, I'm not sure, but I think my legs are a little bit smaller, a little bit. So
Well, they're absolutely massive. So even if they are, just for argument's sake, it's your best body part. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't throw off your symmetry. If it's just, you know, your legs are already too big technically for your upper body, if anything.
Yeah, so that's why like bringing them down a little bit, because my leg trainings this year, except the ones with Big Mike that were pretty intense with the giant sets, the ones I did by myself, I didn't kill myself like when I was 20 years old, when it was time to do legs, because I would see like Brent Schwarman and Ronnie Coleman train, and then John Meadows was coaching me. I was like, when I do legs, it's like it's the apocalypse. I have to annihilate myself. And then I think what happened, because of my genetics, my body would prioritize my best body parts for recovery. So my legs would take all the recovery out of my upper body, and then my back is a weak point. Even if I would train back twice a week, it wouldn't get the same recovery as my legs, because my legs would demand so much from my body. So now what I do is I train legs less hard, you know, if I'd say that, and then it gives more nutrients and more energy for my upper body to recover. And I think that's what happened. So maybe my legs, like, they're a little bit smaller, but maybe not. Like, who knows, right? Right now, like, they feel so big because I gained some weight. But I think that the fact that I don't kill them as much, it gives like all the nutrients my body can, like, oh, I got some spare change now to put them in these weak body parts. So I think like guys with like overpowering body parts, they could just train those body parts less hard. For me, it's legs. So I feel like I'm like, am I being a pussy because I don't train legs as hard? You know, in my head, right? So I had to get over that. But my leg training is always hard, of course. But it's not like back in the day where I would go on a squat bar and I would be like, okay, I'm gonna do 35 reps with 3 plates, and then I'm gonna try to get to like 60 reps in 3 sets, and then I'm gonna do like leg press, like just load it up. One time I did leg press with I think it was 1,000 pounds. I did 100 reps, 103 reps. And I did it. It was at Movati, the commercial gym in Burlington, and then my fucking glute ham and my hip hurt for 6 months. You know, the type of those type of workouts where you just push yourself, like, because you don't understand that your mind can take your body in places you've never went before. Because if you take a hard set and you're like, if I don't do this set to my max, if I don't reach a certain amount of rep, somebody will die that I loved. You know, then if it was really happening, you could do it. You know, if I would tell you, okay, Greg, you gotta run a marathon, or else like somebody will die that you love, you're gonna fucking run and you're gonna make it. Anybody on earth can do it. If there's like a life-threatening situation, they will finish the race. So it's like I would take my training with legs like that, like so I would get pretty far down in the hole, and I think it was counterproductive sometimes.
And you bring up a good point. Like basically what I'm hearing is like how hard you train on every single body part. If you think, okay, I'm just going to go and train all out every single day, whatever body parts you split up, there's just no way to do that, because you're mentally, you have to have the recovery to be able to push yourself into that pain zone. And if you kill yourself on legs, you might think you're killing yourself on back as much, but you're not, because you're fatigued from doing legs. Personally, right now, I feel it all the time because I race bicycles and I'm lifting weights. And so when I train really hard in a bike race and I take myself into the pain barrier, like just beyond, and I'm just suffering, and then I have to go and do legs the next day or something, I'm not in it the same way. I feel like I'm pushing hard, but I know I'm not, because I'm not mentally recovered to go that hard. I just can't get myself into that pain barrier. And I feel like, why am I not going hard enough? But the reason is because I'm overtraining from doing the biking and the weightlifting, and there's only so much. So you have to prioritize, like weak biceps. You got to save some energy, some mental strength to push yourself on whatever it is your lagging body part.
Yeah, because I think what you said is true, because let's say if you do your race with the bike and then you push yourself, you did your best there for that. And then you do your best for legs afterwards, but your best for legs could have been better if you didn't do your best for there as much. So you kind of balance it out. And for me, I got to pick and choose my battles with the body parts that are the weakest. So for legs, I need to just like smash them hard and fast. I try to keep it under an hour and 15 minutes. And I don't do the crazy like pass failure, double drop, this, that, like crazy sets that will just like annihilate me. I will just get a massive pump, get a big burn and have like a few sets where I push. But then the rest is like for example, during this prep at the end, I really liked it. I would do FST7 for my quads, like 7 sets of 12, 20-second break. It's like the whole Handy Rambot thing. And I would do that first, and then my legs would be super pumped. And then whatever I do after that, it's just like I feel it so well in my legs. And for me, I connect with my legs very easily. Like some people, they will have trouble feeling their. I can reach failure on a hack squat with 2 plates or 6. Give me whatever weight you want me to use. I'll burn my legs out and reach failure, because my muscle connection is really, really good. For my lats though, I wish it was the same, right? Some people, like you see Regan do a pull-up, it's like, okay, yeah, everything's fucking firing. Me, I do a pull-up, like, oh, he's using his traps and his belts and whatever. It's not the same thing. Even if I try to connect, and some people are just naturally, their back will they have the movement down with the movement in the hip and the lats and everything. You can see them working their back, and everything works. Seems like it's the natural for them. But for me, you put me on a leg day or a leg press, whatever. My legs, I can fire them really easily. So everybody has their genetic like body parts, and I wonder if it's like from the first few months of training, everything is like molded there. I've always wondered that, because when I first started training, I would just like, oh, it's time to do back. I've got to roll the whole stack. I was training heavier when I started bodybuilding than I do now for back, because I would be like, okay, like, because I would watch the DVDs with Ronnie and Brent Schwarren and all these guys. So I would literally go to the gym. I would pyramid up my way, like on a seated row, and then I would stack up plates with pins and just row like it's like the Viking on a boat going to war. And then my lats would never fire up, because I would use lower back, I would use my shoulder momentum and stuff, and it wouldn't work for me and my genetics. But some guy like Regan could have done that, and his back would have still grown because of even if he cheats, his rep, everything is firing good. I can press any way I want for legs. I can like feel my quads. So I think different people have different genetics, and maybe the first few months of training, the genetically strong body part will grow stronger, and then the body will be like, how can I make this movement easier by using your strongest body part? And the weak ones will like stay smaller.
Now, I notice this. Tell me if you feel the same way. When people are younger, they usually lift heavier weights for lower reps, and then the better they get at bodybuilding, the more experience, like yourself, for example, they tend to lighten the weight and use better form. They slow the weights down. There's more time under tension. Do you find that to be the case, or do you find some people still are doing like 5 sets of 5 with 400 pounds or 500 pounds in the bench press, or people more like really trying to have the feel of the muscle and slow eccentric, fast concentric, pausing the weight? What do you think about that?
I think there's a mixture of both. There's some people where like still see them in the gym. They're wrapping their knees up. They're preparing themselves for like, they take those big breaks and they're gonna do like a crazy set of hack squats and but it's like in my head I'm like, you don't have to do that anymore. Or they will do chest and they will like wrap up like the wrists, wrap up the elbows, and they're gonna go like try to press the heaviest dumbbells they can, because we have up to 200 pounds at Pure Muscle and Fitness. So they will like try to like do that. I'm like, man, are you like, is your goal to move weight or to build muscle? It's still a bit different. But I did the mistake when I was younger too, right? Like I used to like be able to shoulder press 160s and stuff. And but now it's like I can just grab like 80 pounds, or if I feel really good, 120 pounds, and I can just use that. Or then I figured out that laterals build delts more than presses. So it's like I think if you're open-minded and you put your ego out of the way and you disassociate like heavyweight equals gains in your head, and like I said, you're open-minded, you will, and then you are around people that will be able to teach you stuff, and you look around. I think it's also being proactive on like, what else can I try that works, right? So I've seen people that as they grow older, they will change their training, but I see some guys who are still it's mostly guys in their 20s though, and maybe early 30s. They will still like try to do the Ronnie Coleman approach. The thing with Ronnie, whatever he could have done, he would have been Ronnie, the king of bodybuilding. So I think sometimes we need to adapt to our body, what our body is capable of and stuff. And for me, if I just kept training heavy for my back, I would have never had lats. I would have never had a back that's like, because my back improved this year. I'm really happy about it. Of course, it's not like, it's still a weak body part, but at least everything is there now. And it's like popping out more.
And let's take it back to cardio, both on season and off season. You do an hour. I was surprised to hear an hour. Is that just for your heart, or is that to keep your body fat level down, or is that to make up for maybe you're very hungry and you can't eat low calories? Like, why is it that you do that much cardio? Because a lot of people are, and I argue to death against these people. I'm a fan of cardio. I think it's important to be done year round, but they'll say, don't do any cardio until you start to prep, because if you do cardio, then you're going to need to add even more. But you just did an hour and you did less as the show was coming up. So
Yeah,
what do you say to that?
I think the main reason is just health, because of course your heart rate goes up when you train, like interval. But I think the steady like level of like the heart rate being over a certain amount for a long period of time is really good for the heart. So we did it because of that. And what I would do is in the morning I would do 50 minutes of either treadmill or the bike, and I try to get my heart rate up. And then you see the progression. It's like it slowly goes up. Like when you're running or biking. At first it's like that, and then you see that, okay, now with my pace I have, it keeps going up. So either you got to slow down so that the crescendo, the ascent is like not as high, or you just like, and the stronger your heart is, the longer you can go at a higher level of because I think people who run, they would check their watch and they all have my heart rate at 140 and my pace is this, they will know how far they can run, right? So I think it's really good for the heart to do steady pace and to keep the heart rate up for a long time like that. So I do that. And then for my before my workout, I do 10 minutes step mill, and I try to get my heart rate over 120, just to have a little higher heart rate for that. And it's also a good warm up. But the key thing I think is the 15 minutes in the morning fasted, even off season. I just like it too. People say they don't like cardio. I like cardio. It's fun. You can go on your phone. I got a game on my iPad I play, and then you get a good sweat and you feel good afterwards. So for me, I love exercising. I don't just love bodybuilding exercise. I would do so much shit outside that I keep myself from doing because I'm still competing, right? I would want to do jujitsu again. There's a lot of things like retiring from bodybuilding can also be really fun if you love training in general and exercising. There's so many options that open up now. So, but for now, I'm still like focused on bodybuilding. So I restrain myself to the things I should be doing. But that's why I like doing cardio. I like it. I like doing cardio. I do power hot yoga also. So yeah, I just love exercising in general. But the cardio in the morning, it's I feel like it's also to keep the weight down too off season, because even though like if my levels would be natural, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to be under 270 pounds. You understand what I mean? Because of just like my youth and just the 20 years of training. And if I keep training like a bodybuilder, I'm not going to go under 270. I said online, I was like, oh, I'm 236. That was bullshit. I was just fucking around. I was never 236. I was always like in the 270s. But for me, that's light. I used to be 330 off season.
Yeah. Wow. Massive.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking with Derek Lewis the other day, and he's on like a 3,600 calorie diet, and he weighs over 250, and he's like 5'5.5". And so it's easy to gain a lot of weight. Like people think you need 5 or 7 or 10,000 calories a day to be a bodybuilder. I mean, Derek Lunsford, I'm saying his name wrong, the 212 Olympia champion. So he's like 250 plus pounds, and he's 5'5.5", and he's on 3,600 calories. Like that's what I eat. Do you know what I mean? So you don't need a crazy amount of food. So at this stage, like what were you eating this year throughout your prep, or maybe like leading into it? Was it 5,000, 4,000? Like where are you at roughly? And mind you, you're doing a lot of cardio too. So you're burning off a lot of calories.
I was probably off season, like maybe around 5. But for me, that's like, if I go to 4,700, I lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
So like my high days were like over 4,000 calories, and my normal days, which I'll call my low days, they were like in the high 3,000s. And then my off days would go a little bit lower. So the lowest day I got, I think, was like 2,900. I had like 2 of those during prep, but the rest of the time I eat like over 3,500 calories for sure, even like near the show. And then I got some days where I do back, chest. I have over 4,000 calories in prep, but that's because I'm like, the more muscles you have, the more just sitting down you're going to burn.
Yeah, your BMR and your NEAT are higher. You're obviously running through the calories. It's like you have a bigger machine.
Yeah, if you look at Derek, look at the guy. The guy is made to be a bodybuilder.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, this guy is like, physique is crazy. So it's like, yeah, like this guy could eat 2,000 calories and be like 240. Right, the body will just like at some point to genetics, and the youth, you could keep a lot of like size just because you're young and your body's like still fresh. Because if you've been alive for 30 years, you're still young, because you got like the human body can last a long time. But that at some point is like age will get you. But I think genetic and age will really have an impact on how much muscle and how much food you can eat. But I also think that you can prime your metabolism to eat more food.
Yeah. I have a question. What body fat percentage do you think is be a great zone to be in for an off-season bodybuilder? Like somebody that's, they're not dieting for a show, but they're a bodybuilder. Like should they be at 10%, 20? Is there a certain number somewhere in between?
Yeah, these percentages are weird because if you do calipers, if you do like the DEXA scan or the water dump test, I don't know what it's called,
Yeah.
but it's all different. But for me, the gauge is always the lower back and the butt. So I think that a good percentage, because I never take the percentage for myself, but you got to think about this. If you're going to be an off-season bodybuilder and you're about to prep, whatever excess you have, you'll have to lose anyway. So are you like getting fat because you're force feeding yourself with shit food, trying to gain weight? Because if you just want to gain weight on the scale, and you think the scale will equal gains, that's kind of a mistake, because you're going to gain a lot of useless weight. Like I can gain, like if I, like was my birthday, like last week, like I ate a few like meals, maybe too many. And it's like, I can really see like, man, I gained one day, I gained 6 pounds in one day. I'm like, oh my God, I got to hit the yoga now and lose this. And then I can lose 6 pounds in one day just doing yoga. So it's like all the scale stuff is useless. But the the thing that you gotta understand, all the excess weight, all the body fat, and the heavier you are, it's also like harder on the body. So it's like, do you really want to go up because to 300 pounds? Like 200 pounds, like in my head, like I think some other people's head is like, oh, it's a holy grail of like you're a big pro bodybuilder's weight now, 300 pounds, right? But it's like anybody can eat their weight to 300 pounds. The strong men, they sometimes they're 300 pounds, like they were 250, they went to 300 pounds, and then they eat their way up to 430 pounds. They're taller, of course, but you can eat your way up to whatever weight you want. But are you going to look better as a bodybuilder? I don't really think so. You know, like, so, and the thing with this year is that I was like, usually I start my prep, like I said, over 300. I started my prep at like in the 270s, and I probably just lost around 20 pounds. Usually I lose like 50 pounds prepping.
Yeah. So it's a lot easier to lose 20 pounds than 50. You don't need as big of a calorie deficit. So it might be easier when you're bulking up, eating a ton of food because you're gaining so much weight. But then eventually you're going to have to diet earlier because you have the extra weight to lose. So whatever benefit you can get from bulking, I see that as a loss when it comes time to cutting. And so to me, I think they balance out whether you want to bulk hard and then cut hard, or just go on a slight bulk in the off season and then an easier cut. I think they're in the end going to give you the exact same thing, except for the crazy bulk's not as healthy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that off season, if you can just keep just a little bit over like your maintenance level of clean food, you might not gain weight as quick. But like I said, with the training and everything else you're doing, you're going to have gains, and the gains are never quick. They're quick when you first start. And then unless you do some weird acrobatics, like because you see bodybuilders who team up with a coach and then they get 1 year, they gain like 30 pounds of muscle. I'm like, what the fuck happened there? Like who knows? But me, it was always like, I gained weight quickly when I was in my early 20s to a certain size, and then everything was slow. Of course, I had like my little struggles that kind of slowed me down. I did a lot of yo-yo there, but everything was always super slow. Like I never really improved really fast. And I think everybody's kind of the same. If you look at Brandon Curry, he was already big. And then he slowly kind of improved. And then at some point, he was like, oh my God, now he's in Miss Olympia. Ronnie is another example. He was good. And then I think if the rumors are true, he started doing stuff. He improved really quickly. And then like after 2002, he improved even more. And then after 2003, it's like, it was kind of slow, right? At some point, you can't really improve like that all the time. I think if you're a good pro, you kind of like reach a certain level, and now it's just like consistency. Let's give another 10 years of training to just gain like another 7-8 pounds of solid muscle. Because I really believe that whatever weight you gain quick is like, it's not gonna be quality.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the longer it takes to put on muscle, the better it's going to look. And I think that what people should do is stretch out their growth. A lot of people, they're in their teens or early 20s, and they want to take steroids right away because they want to have that freakish physique right now. But the problem is, even if you take steroids, it's going to make you grow bigger muscles, but only for a couple of years. Then the gains slow down again because you have newbie gains in the gym. Then you have newbie gains to steroids. So if you use steroids really young, like, teens and 20s, you're going to get to your maximum size a lot sooner. And so it kind of makes it less fun or enjoyable after, because let's be honest, if you put on 20 pounds of muscle in a year and the next year you put on 10, then 5, then 3, how fun is it to gain 3 pounds when you remember that year you put on 20? So for me, my advice to people, wait as long as possible to take steroids. If you ever do so, try to get to your maximum potential natural and then add it in after, because it's extending your career. Like for myself, I'm 46. I didn't turn pro till I was 35. So I started a lot older in life. So I was able to kind of grow from the age 10 on and on and on, slow. And then when I added in steroids, put on a ton of muscle, and I made it fun again because, I was getting bigger. And, but eventually I couldn't get any bigger. There's a time when you can't keep improving. And so I was like, I didn't feel there was much point in abusing my body to compete in the pro division in bodybuilding and not really have a chance to possibly even get top 10. So I switched to classic. It was healthier, made it fun, exciting again. And so Who knows? Maybe we'll see you in Classic in a couple of years. The time will tell.
Yeah, who knows about that? We don't even know the future, right? We don't even know if tomorrow is going to happen. When you think about it, like nothing is really certain in the future. But all it just said, but I think my advice to people is that instead of falling in love with the gains, fall in love with training. You know, and if you fall in love with training and dieting and eating well, all the gains will maybe happen slower, but that's not what you are really like doing it for. Because there's a lot of people who are like, you can really see them, I think, sometime when they retire. It's like, did you love what bodybuilding gave you, or you love training? If your passion was training, even when you retire, you're gonna keep training, you know, and then they keep looking good. There's some guys, they just love what bodybuilding gave to them as far as like the muscle, the gain, the fame, the validation. And then when they retire, they just stop all that. But I think if you really fall in love with, like, if your passion is really training, exercising, and eating well, I mean, you don't care if it's slow or quick. You're in love with the process, not the results.
Yeah, absolutely. If you love training for training, you can do it natural and you can make the most out of it. If you're just in it for the fame, the followers on Instagram, or the notoriety of looking freaky, then, well, you're just doing it for the end result. And you might just be going to the gym. You go through those motions to get the end result. But if you don't love it, you're not going to keep doing it. Case in point, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they asked him, why do you keep training? You're in your 70s now.
Oh, yeah,
like,
I saw
what?
that.
Yeah. And he's basically like, it's like friggin' breakfast. Of course I'm doing that. I eat breakfast every day. I go to the gym every day. It's what I do. And for me, I feel that's the same with cardio. I'm like, I ride a bike, I lift weights, I work, I go to sleep, I eat. It's part of my life. And so I can't imagine just not training, despite the fact I've lost so much strength. I can't lift the weights I used to. I still love to go in and train and get that pump and feel good, because it does release endorphins that make your body feel good, gets rid of stress. So to me, it's a no-brainer. People should exercise.
Yeah. The pump is the cure, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so is there anything you wanted to leave before we let go? Any messages or anything you want to summarize? Sponsors, anything like that?
Well, I've got a few sponsors, of course. And, you know, at the gym, Pure Muscle Fitness, I'm a part of back home. I think it's the best gym. You've been to our gym, right?
I've been there, and it's absolutely phenomenal. People have to go and make a trip there, because the gym is like no other. I haven't seen anything close to that.
No, for real. It's like if you had a pool, a couple of massage places, and you know, like it would be like rivaling Kuwait and or Oxygen Gym, because they got all the fancy stuff. But as far as bodybuilding equipment and the vibe, I think there's nothing like this in North America.
No, it's absolutely mind blowing. I've been there many times, and so I know exactly what it's about.
Yeah, yeah. And now we're up to 30,000 square feet. And we're getting new machines here and out all the time. We have a company called Pure Muscle Athletics. That's like we sell and import and export machines. So if you have a gym and stuff, or a home gym, you could go on the Pure Muscle Fitness Instagram and find the Pure Muscle Athletics Instagram there, the company, and just get whatever equipment you see in our videos. You could get them. But yeah, so I'm a part of that, and I'm also sponsored by HG Muscle, which is owned by like the Hamiltons, you know, Dora Hamilton, Noah, and you know, the whole family pretty much. And I'm really grateful, because I go to the gym and I see my friends every day. Some people, they all see their friends every 2 weeks or whatever. They have work friends and they have their real friends. Me, it's all in the same place. We're like a big family. So I'm really happy about that. They're part of HG Muscle. I'm part of HG Muscle. I got my sponsor right away. I've been with them for a long time through like the ups and downs. Same thing with Iron Bowl Strength. They do the belts, racks, dumbbells. And I got Fit Menu giving me the food here. You know, back in Canada, every day I eat the Fit Menu, the meals. It's like a meal prep company. In the US, actually, they Mega Fit Meals hooked me up for the shows I did. So I'm really happy for that. But yeah, there's that. I have my website, avbodybuilding.com. I got a really popular calf training ebook. I wonder why. But yeah, so I think the main message, because we cover a lot of stuff today that's different than usual. Usually I talk a lot about like recovery, drug addiction, and all these things, the bicep tears. So maybe we could do another one on that another time. But my main message is that if you have like a setback, if you like failed, and then you feel like you're down in the gutter, it's not only possible to overcome, but you can also thrive. Because I think I can say for a fact that I'm an example of that. And if I can do it, anybody can. But the thing that really helped me is that I reached out for help when I needed it, whatever that is, in what form that could be for you. You know, like if you're struggling, you don't have to struggle alone. There's always help out there. It's sometimes putting your ego aside. You know, you're not that special. You put that aside, that you seek out the help, and then you thrive. Because the reason why I can fail and come back so quickly is my support system. You know, I got the whole gym. I got my recovery program. I got a wonderful girlfriend, and you know, and my mom, of course. So I think like by myself, I wouldn't make it. I know I'm not strong enough. I would be powerless over a lot of things in life. I don't control a lot of things, but together we can. So I think my main advice that if you're suffering, whatever that suffering is, reaching out for help will help you a lot. It will actually make you not only overcome, but you can even thrive and succeed and become a champion.
That's a great message. Don't suffer alone. Speak out. You can get help. A lot of people, I mean, so many people get depressed and have bad days, bad weeks, months, years. You're not alone. Other people are feeling the same thing. So reach out to someone, tell them what you're going through. It's guys, especially, they're so scared to open up and share their feelings. They just try to tough it out, but they need to stop. They need to be able to tell other people, you know, it's so beneficial to be able to speak to others and learn from them and get help from others.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. And obviously you can follow Antoine on YouTube and on Instagram and check out his website, and wishing you the best of luck. Hopefully you'll make a top 10 finish at the Olympia. What was your placing the last time? 15? I can't remember.
I think
13?
I was third to last. 13. So I think it was me, Regan, and Juan Morel. So I think I was 14 or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was my first Olympia. I was pretty stressed out. My goal, to be honest, for the next one is like to just did what I should have done in the first one, soak it all up. You know, I'm in the biggest bodybuilding stage, be really in the moment. And this time I'm really looking forward to it because my mind is such in the right place now that I'll be able to enjoy it fully. But as far as placing, man, I mean, it's fun to guess, but like I said, like the results are not up to me. The only thing I control is my effort and my attitude. So I'm going to focus on that 100%. And then the results, like the judges will decide, the universe will decide. But in my head, because it was closer than we think that people thought with me and Ian, and he's a top guy, maybe I'll be like right in the mix, you know, like a top 10, I would be happy. But the only reason why I would be happy is because I know I'm going to do my best effort, and the best is the best I can do. The rest is not even up to me. So you're only mad at yourself when you get second place and you know the mistakes you could have fixed.
Yeah, it's a great mindset. Yeah, like, absolutely a great mindset, because I always said when I'm going to these shows, I was like, what's your goal? I'm like, well, I don't know. I want to get top 10, but I also just want to look my best. And if I get last place and I look my best, how did I not win? It's like the battle against myself. I can't affect how that guy looks. You show up to the Olympia and everyone's off, you can win the Olympia. It's like, it just depends. How do they look? Are they at their ultimate best? That can't affect how you look. You can only say, hey, I came in at my best. Whatever place that gave me is what it gave me.
Yeah, the thing is, like, you can't compete and not be ready to lose. People say, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. Yeah, you can lose too. Like, the thing is, like, we have to understand at the pro level, everybody's good. Like, you know, when I won Cali, I went from 7th to 1st this next week. It's because in the top 6, usually it all depends who nails it, you know? So I'm not afraid to lose. If I was afraid, I would just stay home and do something else. I would play, you know, video games or something, you know, all day. And then you can lose that there too, actually. So I think in everything that you want to perform in life, and success, everywhere there's competition, you will lose. Everybody loses. Ronnie lost, Phil Heath lost. So it's like, so you like, I think sometimes like people, their self-worth is too much like on the result, and I have to win. They're stressed out. Like, why are you focusing on the result? Focus on the process today. Results are in the future. It's not even happening right now. You have no control over it. So the only thing that I can do is focus on like, okay, what can I do to make today a successful day as far as like the meals, the training, all that stuff. So I just focus on that, you know, and then once the show is there, all that is done, no stones are left unturned. time to enjoy it. And it's called a bodybuilding show. So I'm going to give them a good show. So that's what I did with my 2 shows I just did. And I really enjoyed the experience. So I'm going to repeat that for the Olympia.
Amazing. And great advice. Happy to have interviewed you. Best of luck in the future. We'll be cheering for you in the Olympia.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Up Canada.
Exactly. We're both from Canada, in case people didn't know. And until next time, we are out.